Okay, I am going to call to order the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of February 1st, 2023. We continue in the hybrid meeting style, so in the event of technological difficulty, the hearing will continue in this room. If you are accessing it online, you may see it on MCTV after the fact. It will be recorded. We have a lot of hearings tonight, so I ask everyone to be concise. We will be having to take a lot of votes here. So, we don't have any minutes, we don't have any de minimis, right? No. Okay, first up is a land donation. Mr. Dan Jones would like to donate lot LO5-27-38, which is 86 Genevieve Lane. He would like to donate this to the Conservation Commission. And anybody want to comment on that? Is anyone here to speak on it, or? Okay.
Any land is good.
Yep. I move that we vote to accept the donation of lot LO5-27-38 to the Conservation Commission. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan Karen, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, we have the Recreation Trails Committee, and I see Ned Bangs is here to address this.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So the Trails Committee is looking to place a picnic table that's built by the high school building construction class on the Couch Beach area. We'd like to have permission of conservation to do that. It's the high school builds several during the year. They have 3 available to the public to purchase. We'd look to purchase one as a test example, see how it works. It's all pressure treated framing, exterior hardware. There's 1 coat of primer on it, 2 coats of Marshfield green, of course, exterior paint. They would deliver it to the site, and then we would look to secure it somehow so it stays where it should stay. And if it works, then we'd look to do something like this, down the road, maybe on a trail when we have some more trails finished. But we wanted to bring it to the Conservation Commission to discuss it, to see if it's a good idea or not, or how it fits in with the conservation restrictions that might be on that area.
Would it go in that little inlet at the end where I think there is currently a picnic table? You have the beach, and then you go down a little bit, and there's kind of a pull-in where you can get a boat in or a kayak in, just before you go down to Blueberry Island.
Right, yeah, and I'm not sure there's a picnic table there currently.
Okay. There once was.
There once was, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and some benches there and barrels. I think all those have gone by the wayside. So that would be the second beach, closer to Blueberry Island than the main area.
Right.
The Trails Committee is open to any logical space within that area that's already set aside for where they have the fire pit and the benches. We wouldn't be looking to do it, someplace off into the woods, but someplace that's already identified as a area that's used by the public.
Susan, do you think that is an issue given the potential CR?
I would not think so. I think
Yeah.
that's, I wouldn't see any reason for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to,
You're
definitely
not
wouldn't
putting
want to pursue
footings
it.
in, there's no construction involved, right? It's not
Yeah,
permanently.
we'll look to, so if it's voted in positive at our next Trails Committee meeting, we'll look to see if we have some volunteers on our group that could secure it, so it's not moved. If we can't secure it, then we're not going to put it in there.
Right,
Doesn't make sense to do that.
it'll be
Can
in
I
the
ask-
river.
How would you secure it? Were you thinking of a chain to something else? or-
Not sure. We looked at the one at John Little, right before you get onto the boardwalk there, and there's a wire, like a cable, and it looks like it's buried in block in the ground. That one has stayed there for several years. Again, but at that site, there's no vehicle access, it's all pedestrian. So, yeah, it'll be a test, an experiment, see how it works. We can say that the benches that are on Webster's Wilderness by the senior center have been in there for a period of time, and they've worked really well. I mean, granted, they're cemented in, so you can't move them, but there hasn't been any vandalism to them to this point. And people have been positive feedback that there are benches out there, because everyone gets a little tired as they're, depending on how far they're walking, and you can't always find a log to sit on or a rock that's good to sit on.
It'd be nice to have a picnic table there. Does anybody else have any comments?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. In that case, I move that we vote to issue a de minimis activity for placement of a picnic table at Couch Beach. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we're happy to work with Michael wherever he
Yeah,
thinks might be the best
I'd be curious to see
location.
what you come up with to secure it,
Sure.
and maybe just make sure that's not gonna impact anything.
Okay.
Absolutely, will do. Appreciate
Okay.
that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ned. Okay, 200 Damon's Point Road, invasive species control. Is Miss Francis here?
Yes.
Ah,
Hi.
oh, hi.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me here tonight. Hi, Mike. Nice
Hello.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Evie.
I live at 200 Damon's Point Road, and that's a pretty good picture of the Phragmites that are in my backyard. And what I want to do is I want to restore this area with native vegetation. So I just put a couple of slides together just so that you have an idea of my backyard project and how I think this could be a good demonstration for other landowners who have the same problem I do, and we can really make a difference here. Next slide, please. So to let you know a little bit about myself, I've been doing this work for about 30 years now. I worked with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and also with the city of Portland. And I have always had an expertise, and I love watershed planning. That's what I love to do, stream restoration and marsh restoration, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. And I have a degree in environmental studies and planning and critical and creative thinking. So I want to restore the salt marsh because that big patch, and it's about 600 square feet, maybe a little bit smaller. And I want to be able to cut it. I want to add leaves to the area. I'm not going to use any herbicides. And again, I see this as a demonstration because when a neighbor does something, people get curious and they ask you, and then they turn to you and say, hey, how'd you do that? Next one, Mike. So we all know, I'm assuming in this room, how valuable wetlands are. The one aspect I really want to bring out here, because it has to do with what I want to do, is to where it says that the ecosystem for salt marshes is decomposing plant and animal material. And I'm going to use that particular process in the project that I want to do to actually help and encourage native species. But we need more wetlands. So the Phragmites, again, I would imagine in this room we all know they're invasive species. They're very aggressive and they create monoculture. And the biggest thing about those monoculture, there's two aspects. One is once they grow tall, between 12, 16, 18 feet, they become monocultures. No sun can really even get through those patches, and that's one of the big deterrents of why you don't have native species intermixed with the Phragmites. The other thing that they have is these roots that are, you know, they just stretch for miles and miles and miles, and no matter what you try and do, it's very impossible to really kill them off. So what I want to do to gain some of these things back so that we have more native species and so that we're not decreasing flood detention, which is also important in my neighborhood, that's why I want to remove this patch of Phragmites. And then the next. So when I talked about processes, what I want to do, and that's February 4th, is I want to use cardboard with wooden stakes, very small wooden stakes, to put on the ground now that the Phragmites is not there. That essentially is to block the roots from coming up because they'll need the sunlight to come up. And once I can block that, then I want to lay down a layer of oak tree leaves to allow for native seeds to grow in there. And this way I'm not using any herbicides. And then in the spring, just by looking at it, using observation, see if there's any areas where I would want to seed with native grasses. And then during the summer, I'll see where if the Phragmites has come up again, that I can just go in, I'm hoping with hand tools or a weed whacker, and then in next fall, if I see that we still have these patches of Phragmite, just go in there by hand and use the same system, the same process. So I just put together a little monitoring plan. I'm usually out there every day or every other day. I call it walking the land. And so what I'll do just to make sure that this is working is have consistent points where I take photographs, have a list of species, and actually measure the square feet of Phragmites at the end of the first year. And then in the square, that's where my house is, that's my home. And in the shaded out area, that's the area of Phragmites that I really want to tackle. And just to point something out on this picture, this area, I'll just back a little, right in here, this corner here, no longer has Phragmites because I've been doing a small experimental patch, not with the cardboard, but with the oak leaves. And for several years, I have been putting them down there. And right now, there's barely any of the Phragmites there. But I'm there every day, and I can see what's going on. And, you know, we've had some mishaps where one year I got like 3 big truckloads of landscapers came with their leaves and dumped them all out there. And then they washed up on a neighbor's lawn. But I think with the stakes and how we're looking to manage this now, that's not going to happen. But that's it. So this is what I would like to have permission to do, and to talk with my neighbors and other people who live along the salt marshes, that maybe there's a way, rather than having a big demonstration project, we can have a small one that we can spread around the neighborhood.
Do you have a wetland delineation on your property? Do we know where?
I can actually tell you.
Can you just give me an idea so that?
There's a rock wall, and it kind of comes, this is one big tree, and then the rock wall just comes around through here. And that is, all of that is conservation land. And one thing that I've also done for the last 3 years is I've gotten rid of that grass. And so that uplands now is about a ½ acre of beautiful flowers, and we have deer that go through there. It really has become, it's beautiful in my mind.
So you called that conservation land? I think you meant it's wetland, but it's your property?
The wetland ends really pretty close to this line. Right here. See
Okay.
that little path? I mow a path around here. And so right now, this is all native grasslands as it's growing up. But the wetlands is really delineated here. The conservation line is here. Any questions or thoughts?
I'm curious to know if this would work. I haven't ever seen anything that works on Phragmites short of digging them out.
And even then, because you're breaking up all
Because
the
you're breaking
roots.
the root
Right,
systems.
Right.
Um,
I think it will, and I think really the key here is the cardboard, because that's gonna keep the roots from going up. In addition to having the roots, having the native seed be on top of that layer of decaying stuff so it can sprout up.
What do you plan to plant, assuming you can beat down the Phragmites? What sort of plants would you?
Well, I'm
Encourage
hoping
in
right
there.
now that I won't need to plant any, because where I used to have the lawn, that came in beautifully. There's some non-natives that I have to go in and cut by hand. But if I were to do that, I would go down to Blue Stem
Mm-hmm.
and get advice from them on the best things to plant.
And where you have worked on it, is marsh grass in there, or
Oh,
what
yeah.
has come back?
Yes,
The
marsh grass.
Spartina? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think it's an interesting experiment. Does anybody?
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see you proceed and see how it goes. The one thing I would like to mention is we've come down pretty hard on other people for green waste into the marsh. So the leaves, you're only going to add them just to that 4-inch depth, and then again if necessary, but not. You won't be constantly adding leaves, correct?
I won't be what?
Constantly adding leaves.
Oh,
you know.
no.
I mean, you already mentioned that was a problem before.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, that was a little excessive.
we just want to make that
And of
point.
course, that's the year we had all that ice come in and such.
Oh, of course. Well, I think I would be very curious to see how this goes, and if you would be so good as to keep us informed.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be
Sure.
very interesting. So I move that we vote to issue a de minimis activity for invasive species control at 200 Damon's Point Road. May I have a second?
Second. Jordan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I hope it works.
Be nice to see it work.
I'll send pictures.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the business portion. We have 3 continuations, the first being SE 422958. The applicant's representative has requested a continuation to March 1st. I move that we vote to continue to March 1st as per that written request. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. SE 422987, 1184 Ferry Street. I move that we vote to continue to the March 1st, 2023 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And SE 422990, 17 Oregon Road. I move that we vote to continue to the February 15th, 2023 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair Harrington. If I may, we had 2 other continuation requests today. I have them up on the screen.
Okay. 2 more. SE 423024, 146 Dakota Street. I move that we continue to, I assume the applicant contacted us, and
Yes, via
Okay.
email today.
I move that we vote to continue this to March 1st, 2023, per the applicant's request. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And finally, SE 4230, 3026, 6 Trounce Island. I move that we continue this to the March 15th, 2023 meeting per the applicant's request. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, then, we begin our public meetings. The first is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Marshfield General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Jean Fahey at 24 Constitution Road. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Dodge.
So at this time, I'm going to confirm the administrative requirements such as taxes, floodplain, and RDA file number. And I believe that we're current
Yep.
with all those, Mike?
Yep, everything's been met.
All right, so at this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone that wants to present, either from the audience or Zoom, and I can obviously help if they don't have anything.
So I'm Jean Fahey, this is Maureen Lane, we're the owners of 24 Constitution Road.
Hi.
I haven't done this before, so what we basically want to do is we have 2 gravel driveways on either side of the house. And we would like to replace them with permeable pavers, which I have a catalog for and whatever. We're finding that we have wood planks down because when we have handicapped people come to the house, we can't get them up to the ramp. It sinks down into the gravel. We're also not getting any younger, and we can't get plows for the driveway because the stones go everywhere. So we are looking to replace those stones with permeable pavers if possible. You guys were out,
Yep.
I think you.
Yep,
There's
that sums it up.
pictures, and as I said, I'm happy to.
I can add to that as well. It's just roughly 1,246 square feet. The pavers are also for vehicular travel, and those are completely permeable, and they're unilock, pretty much a standard paver that we use in that area. I guess at this time, I would ask Mr. Sealy, do you have any comments?
Yep, that sums it up perfectly.
Right.
Just one thing to be sure of is that the sub-base underneath the pavers are pervious as well.
Yeah, it was, I think in the floodplain certificate, we had to put what it was, and I checked with the contractors.
Oh, perfect.
And I think he said it was gonna be 2 inches of gravel. I have him on speed dial if we need to know, but.
That sounds
I'm
accurate.
like, you're leaving me to do this on our own? So, because the floodplain certificate asked quite some interestingly detailed things. It was how deep an excavation, so I wanted to make sure that I understood it and that we knew what we were saying, so. But yes, so we will.
Perfect.
So at this time, I guess I would open it up to commissioners if they have any questions.
Nope, I
Pervious pavers.
think it'll be much easier for you without the gravel.
It would be.
Yeah.
But
Every nor'easter just spreads
Yeah.
the gravel
Yeah,
everywhere.
and they go everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Looks nice,
So,
but it doesn't work so well here, yeah.
No, but it was, we're somewhat limited because of the. so-
Right.
Yeah, and this is a larger project, so we needed to save up until we were able to do it, so,
So you did a good job with the RDA as well.
Yep.
Oh,
thank you.
I guess at this time, we'd open it up for comment for anyone in the audience or Zoom. I guess hearing none, we're gonna send it back. Mike, would you read the special conditions?
Yep, the standard special conditions would be applicable for this one.
So I guess I would make a motion for a positive determination following special conditions.
I will second that for you.
Thank you.
Sure, in a second.
So, so I guess I would make them,
It's,
yeah, you second it?
I second
So
it.
now we're gonna make a vote on the determination. Second, so,
All in favor?
oh, all in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Chair saying it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Might I ask what our next step is? Do we literally get something that says it's okay to do this, or what?
Yep.
Yes.
I'll be issuing your permit within 21 days.
Okay, great,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that's great.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone, we appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 14 Damon's Point. This is an amended, read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, in order to consider the amended order of condition filed by Brendan McCarthy, 14 Damon's Point Road. And I am the hearing officer. Are all of the butter notification, resource, taxes, everything?
Taxes, fees,
Okay.
butters have been met.
Administrative requirements are fulfilled. This is a deviation from the originally proposed site plans that adds a porch, a sunroom. It's all on top of previously disturbed area. Is there anyone here to present this?
Yes, James Garfield with Morris Engineering.
Hello. Please
Hi.
go ahead.
Thank you. So again, James Garfield from Morris Engineering here representing the applicant for this amended or request for amended order of conditions at 14 Damon's Point Road. So the order of conditions were originally issued for this project back in October of 2021, and it was permitted for a proposed deck off the back of the house, which was going to be within the area of an existing impervious patio. So the commission approved that project, and the deviation from that original proposal is to convert, I guess, half of the deck that was previously proposed to a sunroom. This sunroom will also be elevated, and the deck and the sunroom will have pervious patio below, as opposed to the existing impervious. So it's relatively minor, and I know, Mike, you had a question. Get a chance to go out to the site.
Yeah, I went up to the site. The markers and the dock structure in the back have not been addressed yet, given that the work hasn't commenced yet on this project number.
Correct. Yeah, so the work regarding the removal of the dock and the conservation markers, they'll take care of that as soon as they begin the work for this project.
Okay.
So with that, I'll pass it back to the commission for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions? I will point out, you have not yet applied for a floodplain permit. You have,
Okay, if we need, yeah.
you have to do that before you can move forward on, and you also need a building permit.
Sure, we'll make sure we take care of that.
Yeah. The floodplain sort of sets off, although this was pre-floodplain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a different issue. Anyone have comments? Mike, do you have any comments?
Not particularly,
About the-
just the piece about the conservation markers and
In the
docks,
dock,
which I already
still
mentioned.
there. Does anyone in the audience have any comments on Zoom or here? Okay, hearing none. I move that we vote to close and issue amended order of conditions for SE 42 2949A. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you, James.
Next is 747 Ocean Street, also a new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, to hear the request to amend the order of conditions filed by Maura Kiefer at 747 Ocean Street, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Thank you. Mike, can you confirm the administrative requirements?
Yep, taxes, fees, butters have been met.
Okay, thank you. And I see John Zimmer. Are you presenting, John?
I am. Okay, for the record, John Zimmer, South River Environmental. This is a project that originally came in front of the commission back in 2021 for an addition to the existing single-family residence. The addition's been completed. Now they are requesting to add a carport and a deck off the back of the existing porch there. Both of the structures will be elevated on concrete piers. I provided a typical detail in the application package. The carport will be open underneath, so no surface treatment at all, no concrete or anything. It'll just be gravel or dirt as it is now. Overall, the new impervious is basically the circumference of each of the piers, so around 12 to 15 square feet. Overall, with all the pieces of the project put together, it's still an overall decrease of about 121 square feet. Some of you were on the commission back then, but there were some other issues within the property that we had to address, and she did address those as part of the original order. So that's about it in a nutshell. It's in the floodplain, so I believe that she has applied for the floodplain permit. And I think Andrew had a couple of comments back with respect to timing of when she can do it with respect to whether it constitutes a significant addition, but that's not necessarily in the commission's purview, but just so you're aware of it.
Thank you. Any comments, Mike?
Not particularly. It would just be this one area here being modified, and 6 concrete piles as described by John Zimmer.
Yeah, no, I do recall this when it was in front of us the first time, and there was a fence that was encroaching on conservation land, and that's been relocated, so thank you for that. And as far as this, this looks good to me. Any comments from other commissioners? I see none. Any comments from the public? I hear nothing. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue the amended conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Mike? Perfect. Thank you, John.
Okay. All right. 7. Okay, 8 Branch Street. I need to open the 2 continuations we just got today,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I don't think they've been opened yet. Double
Okay.
check that.
Let me do that right now, and the first one is 146 Dakota Street. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by Priscilla Maglio at 147 Dakota Street. I move that, well, we've already continued it.
Yep.
Open it and continue it again.
Okay.
A second continue can't hurt, right?
Right. I move that per the applicant's request, we continue this to
3-1.
March 1st. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And let me just do the Trounce Island too while we're there. 6 Trounce Island, in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by James and Beth Ann, 6 Trounce Island, for septic system. I move that we continue this to March 15th per the applicant's request. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, 8 Branch Street. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by Ronan 953, 6 Wenlock Road, Dorchester, Mass., for 8 Branch Street, and the commissioner, hearing officer is Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you. Michael, taxes, fees, utilities,
Yep. Taxes,
Today-
fees, and abutters have been met.
butters have been notified, and I did see in the notes that the floodplain permit has been submitted
I believe so.
for this. I see James Garfield, you're gonna?
Yes.
Okay, so I think in Andrew's note, I think he mentioned that the floodplain permit had been submitted.
Double check that.
So, James, wanted to describe the project, the raise and rebuild?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
so, again, James Garfield, Morse Engineering, here representing the applicant, the raise and rebuild, the notice of intent at 8 Branch Street. To familiarize yourself with our plan here, we've got a property line shown in bold. The subject resource area is salt marsh shown here in blue, along with the 25, 50, 75, and 100-foot setbacks. So this is a raise and rebuild project for a single-family dwelling as well as detached garage, both of which are in disrepair. This is why the applicant is proposing the 2 new buildings. The closest point of any work, we're not going any further with the proposed building towards those wetlands than what's currently there. The entire site lies within a FEMA flood zone, AE elevation 12. We're bringing this building into FEMA compliance. The buildings will be concrete foundations, but will be equipped with floodplains. As the commission member said, we have filed the floodplain permit at this time. We're proposing a staked erosion control barrier down gradient of the proposed work. And we're proposing a shell driveway as is in the character of what's currently on this site. So with that, I'll pass it back to the commission for questions.
Okay, so I know Michael and I have been out to the site. I apologize for messing up the appointment. We went out separately as opposed
I misread your
together,
email,
which I
too.
always appreciate. So there is a demolition of the existing single-family dwelling. I guess in notes from the building commissioner, there previously in 2021, I guess, a porch and detached garage were removed. And I think you're going to be dealing with the building commissioner on the approval of the permits for the removal. And I guess there's a sign on the front of the building which says basically there's a stop work order as of January 2022. It does call for the construction of the new dwelling in the detached garage on the previous footprints. Now, I don't know if we have the floor plans for the house. They're in the packet, but in the packet, and in the materials, I think, no, I guess you can't see it on that schematic. The house is built on a foundation with 4 smart beds for flood control, correct?
That's correct.
But the garage, as displayed on the plans, is just on a slab.
So Andrew Stewart reached out to me about that a few days ago, actually. We're working on getting that corrected now.
Okay, so that will be, because that would be one of the things that would, need to pass muster with the,
Yeah.
with the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you mentioned, the project abuts a vegetated salt marsh. It's in the flood zone, so therefore you need the foundations with the smart vents. The project lies within the 100-foot buffer zone, mostly beyond the 50-foot salt marsh buffer zone. The current siting shows the edge of the garage is within 50 feet of the salt marsh. I guess you can see it there, the red lines. So I think Andrew also mentioned, if you've been talking to Andrew, that's great, because I think he was the ones that, he was raising some issues. The exact siting of the garage may be questioned. You may need a variance from the zoning board, so you've had that conversation as well?
Yeah, so I'm in talks with Andrew at the moment. We're hashing that out.
Okay. So I think there is, you also showed, I know there's a seashell, hard to say, seashell driveway along the side. But it also said the plan shows an increase in impervious coverage of about 138 square feet. So where is that? Why is that because the foundation's gonna be bigger on the new house, or?
I apologize, I don't have the plan in front of me, so I can't look at the calculation.
So I was looking, so on that, are we looking at this, on that, the schematic that's on the screen shows the impervious coverage table with proposed impervious table area going from 746 square feet to 884 square feet. But it wasn't clear to me where that, I'm not sure, that's about an 18% increase. I'm not sure if that's a
Yeah, I'm not
big
able
issue.
to see that on my screen. I
Okay.
just apologize, I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So I know, Mike, is that increase a concern, or is that small enough, so increase in impervious?
That, I mean, obviously that would be an increase. That would have to be something that the commission considers in their vote.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't clear when I looked at the drawing where that was. It wasn't like they were putting in patios, or
Yeah, I
or
believe
paved
just
driveway.
the footprint of the proposed dwelling is a lot larger. If you look at my cursor, this is the existing home, and then this would be the new home here.
Okay.
And then the garage would also be significantly larger, with the old footprint being here,
Okay,
and then the proposed here.
all right. I think, I noticed on the plan also, they're gonna put in conservation markers,
Yes.
on the back upper part of the property. I know there's construction work going on adjacent to this property, and they have a dumpster there, and I know, we noticed that there was a lot of trash, in the vegetated wetland area behind the house, or in the buffer zone, I guess, more so. So I think in special conditions, you're gonna ask that get cleaned up.
Yeah, that could
But
be
it
a
wasn't clear to
special
me if it
condition,
was
yeah.
from the new construction going on next door, or if it was related to this house, so.
It's unclear. There is debris. It looks like just essentially household garbage, and then some plywood and what have you.
So I think, as far as my review, I mean, those are my thoughts. I don't know if there's anyone in the audience or anyone on Zoom that had any questions, comments? I don't know if any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
Just a comment, John, as far as the impervious coverage. A lot of times on that table, it's expressed as a percentage. And if you figure this is 884 square feet on a lot that's 4,574 square feet, that comes out to be about 19%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not not too bad.
Okay, all right, I noticed it went up, it wasn't clear to me where or why it was going up.
It's a pretty small percentage of increase.
Okay. All right, so I think there is a floodplain permit application that's in, so I think there's some work to be done with Andrew. But James, you said were having those conversations. I think the big issue from my perspective was just the garage foundation needs to be floodplain compliant.
Another thing worth mentioning as well is beyond the wetland delineation line there seems to have been some clearing in the past. So these conservation markers would help keep that area naturally vegetated.
Okay. All right. No other comments? All right, so,
Can we approve this without the final plans? If the plans,
what's the commission's thought on that? Do we need to see the plans with the garage elevated?
Yeah, continue.
Yes.
Okay,
Give them a deadline of Friday or Monday, whichever is easier for James.
Can do that, or, yeah, otherwise
Let's
push
just
it out further.
continue, because it's,
Yeah.
it's tied up with building right now.
Right.
Continue.
We can see the plans.
all right. So, what,
Ask him,
did
ask James
you
what,
hear that conversation about the revised plans showing the elevated garage, or the garage on a floodplain compliant?
Yeah, so you needed the plans by Friday, you said? Is that correct?
he's still working with
still.
building.
Building.
Yeah.
So I would say there's no need to have the plan by Friday. He can continue to the 15th or beyond,
When he's resolved with.
when he's resolved with Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm gonna have the right language here, that's still in my learning mode here. So, we're going to, let's see what it says here, we're not gonna close with special conditions, so we're gonna vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
To a later date. February 15th is the next date, but I am having eye number 2 cataract surgery done that day, so I'm not here on February 15th, so do we want to push it out? So there's the next one, March 1st? There's no February 29th this year, is
Yeah, the
it?
next one would be March 1st.
Ask the applicant what he wants.
So what does that sound like, James, to you?
Yeah, I imagine it's gonna take a few more weeks anyway to get through. We have a zoning filing for this project as well. So, I think March 1st sounds reasonable.
Okay, if you're good with March 1st, so we're going to make a motion to continue until March 1st.
Perfect.
Okay, we have to.
I shall second that for you.
Second, all approve? All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
Aye?
Hold on a sec.
Oh, sorry.
You want to get that continuance in writing from the applicant.
I was looking to Mike to see what is the next step for formalizing the continuance.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind putting that in writing, James, that would be nice, but it is on public record in the meeting as well.
Sure, I can send you an email first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're good, we had the second was approved? All right.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay, putting you to work. Next up is 174 Fairways Edge Drive, new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, at 6:30 to consider the notice of intent filed by William and Janice Jewett, 174 Fairways Edge Drive, and the hearing officer is, once again, Commissioner McDonald.
All right. I think Janice's name up there.
Yes.
Are you gonna
I am.
present the project? Okay, so before we go there, Michael, taxes, fees, and utilities?
Yep. Taxes,
Noters,
fees, and abutters have been.
Butters, okay. All right, so this is a proposal to remove a deck, build a pool, and build a patio,
That's correct.
correct? And so why don't you,
Yeah.
Janice or Rick?
Yep, Rick Savant with Stenbeck and Taylor. So yes, this is a residential pool project. The homeowners desire to put an in-ground pool in their backyard. There is a wetland area close to the rear of the property, as you can see there. We're right up against the 25-foot buffer with this proposal. That wetland area that's out back there, not to diminish it at all, but it is an old cranberry bog that's been kind of overgrown, and it is certainly a resource, but it is an old cranberry bog that's out there. And we're right up against that 25-foot buffer with this proposed work. They desire the pool enough that they're willing to remove that rear deck on their house because they would have to maintain a 10-foot offset from the deck also, where there just wouldn't be any space at all. So it's very tight, as you can see. We're minimum distance off the house with the structure, with the pool, and we're right at the 25-foot buffer with the edge of the patio. It isn't an existing lawn area. I'd like to point out, I don't know if any of you were out there, there is a large row of arborvitaes that's there that should have been shown on the plan that isn't. Those three bold shots at the back, those 84 numbers, are the house side of that row of arborvitaes. They should have been drawn in that location, but they're pretty substantial row of trees that some of those are going to have to be removed in order to get this in. I was going to talk to the homeowner about possibly relocating some of those further back. Some of them are in real good shape, some of them aren't, but just wanted to point that out. So yes, we're also proposing, because of its closeness there to the 25-foot buffer, there is a section of retaining wall there, which the intention of that is to limit excavation into the 25. Those are precast blocks that would go there on the detail, and it looks like it might be cut off on the plan there.
Yeah, they're on
But
the
there's a
plan.
little detail there which shows it's a precast block that they would need to be excavated, of course, to set these in place. But once they're set in, inside of the silt sock, the intention is to just pour the slab on top of that, so they're not digging beyond that 25-foot buffer is the plan. So we do realize it's tight, but we're just trying to do the best we can with this one, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So, I went out to the site, and I think William was there.
Yes.
I talked with
Sure.
William. And I was looking at the plan, and I did notice the arborvitae were there, and they weren't on the plan, so I asked them if they were coming down,
They should.
because they're also like right adjacent to where the fence is gonna be and where this retaining wall is, and I guess he mentioned that, he'd like to keep them, but some of them had already been knocked down because of the wind and the weather,
Yes.
so I guess that's something that will, I guess is still something under discussion. There is quite a bit of slope there
Yes.
on the backyard. I mean, I think I
Yes.
saw, according to the plan, it's like a 5 or 6 foot drop off.
That's right. Yeah.
So the retaining wall, makes sense. I asked Mike about it and what the feelings are about the retaining wall. But I guess it's useful because of the closest to the buffer zone. What is the patio going to be made of? Consist of? Is it?
To the best of my knowledge, it'd be a standard patio, concrete, gunite type patio there.
Okay. So impermeable?
Yes,
Okay.
it is reflected on the table. There is an increase of, I believe it's 1,600 feet, which is all just the pool itself and the patio area. So it's all new area. It's a 3.6% increase, in regards to the whole lot.
Yep.
But it isn't an existing disturbed lawn area, but it's, it's tight there. There's really no other. They really desire the pool, and there's just no other place to put it. The septic's out front.
Yep.
And this is where we are. We're right up against that.
And you are going to have a staked 8-inch straw wattle at the 25-foot
Yeah,
buffer.
silt sock, that's correct. We installed prior to any construction or any work out there. Just that standard silt sock.
So the straw is okay, I know, and sometimes, is that the standard that we use?
Typically, we encourage mulch
Yeah.
and do not use hay.
It can be mulch or straw, definitely not hay.
Yeah.
Okay, hay, all
yeah.
right, so I saw the straw. and
Straw is
hay,
boiled
I'm not-
hay that has no
I was curious if that,
life in it.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much, I know Andrew's notes were that the building permit, electrical permit, and Board of Health approval is still, required, but that's
Yep.
beyond our jurisdiction. So that's pretty much the way I see the project. I don't know if there's anyone in Zoom or audience that had any comments on the project? Any commissioners have any questions, comments?
Should we consider conservation markers? It's a tight spot, but
Maybe,
It's tight.
maybe right on the fence is right on the line anyway.
On the new fence? Right, yeah.
Pretty much right on the 25.
I think that's very reasonable to put something there. I mean, it's
What
right
kind
at
of
the top
fence?
of the slope.
Do you know what kind of fence it's gonna be?
It's
The
going
water
to be a
will flow?
4 foot. I'm not positive. I don't know if the homeowners can comment on that. It does obviously require to be enclosed as a pool area.
Yeah,
I would envision a black chain link or something, a typical
so the
pool
water
fencing.
can flow through.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
open fence.
Not, because I know that was an issue on one of the other projects, that the water can flow through.
Sure. Yep. Luckily, we're not in the flood zone for once on one of these projects, so, yeah.
If I may, Commissioner O'Donnell. In the past, the commission has pushed the 6-foot-inch gap underneath the fence. I'm not sure if this is something that we would encourage for a pool, where I'm not sure we want wildlife getting into the pool.
Yeah, I'm not sure about safety either.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the
where it's
pool-
not flood zone, you probably,
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think pool fences are treated differently because, I mean, a child could get under there too.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so, no other comments from the commissioners? I'm looking for my notes here. What happened?
Commissioner O'Donnell, how many conservation markers would the commission like on the fence?
What do you,
The lot's 100 feet wide, just for reference. So,
50
maybe
feet
two
apart.
on the property lines and one or two in the middle, or two? Is that what we said?
Stay two in the middle.
Okay. Just split them up equally, put them at the fence, it's just between the fence and the 25-foot buffer, or right at the back of the fence.
look at, probably, right on the fence.
if you
The
want to
fence-
put them right on the fence.
Right on the fence,
plaque is
since
right
the
on the
fence is on the
fence itself.
25-foot mark.
Save,
Fence is on 25.
All for that,
so the fence is gonna have to be there as long as the pool's there.
correct. Yep.
All right, so Michael, you wanna, so we have some new special conditions here. Do you wanna read the special conditions? or-
Yes. So the standard special conditions would apply, along with the D2 insert about erosion control in place and do not use hay, and then a D3 insert after completion of work. Ensure 2 conservation markers. Was it 4?
Yep.
1 on each end and then 2 on the fence.
Well, yeah, 2 on the property line, and then 2 spread equally within the limits of the property. So
Okay.
4 in total.
So 4 in total, 2 on each end of the property line, and then 2 equally in the middle.
Yep.
Okay. And we don't need that 6-inch gap under the fence. We can take that one out. So,
Yeah, that one would not apply.
okay. All right. So you all set? Good? With your notes before? I don't wanna.
Yep.
Okay.
All set. Thank you.
So then I'm gonna make a motion that we close and issue with special conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good to go?
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Next, we have 0 Ferry Street, SE 423020. And this is a continued hearing. The hearing officer is Commissioner Ring.
Thank you. We did go out and do a site visit for Zero Ferry. The engineers and applicant were able to show plenty of water. They were out climbing in the water. I believe it was James who was out there pretty much swimming, right?
Almost.
Yeah. Would you like to give us a status since the last hearing?
So we actually haven't presented this project
We
yet.
haven't.
At the last hearing, we have been continued due to the fact we didn't have harbor master comment yet.
I thought you presented it then, so why don't you present it now?
Okay. All right. So, yeah, this is a notice of intent for a proposed dock at 0 Ferry Street. This is the beach area located behind the bridgeway, just for reference. So looking at our plan here, we've got the South River to the right of the page, Ferry Street, the unconstructed paper street on the left-hand side of the page. We've got resource areas on this site consisting of salt marsh, which is shown here in blue, coastal beach, which is between the salt marsh and mean low water, being elevation -5. We've got the South River itself being a tidal river with an associated mean high water mark of elevation 4, shown in magenta. And the entire project located within land subject to coastal storm flowage, being AE elevation 10. We're proposing a new dock, obviously, being 4 foot wide by 19.4 foot long for the ramp, 4 foot wide by 161 foot long for the wooden pier, 3 by 30 foot long aluminum gangway, and then a 10 by 20 float at the end. The bottom of the stringers for this dock are located at a minimum of 6 feet above mean high water, as well as the salt marsh, which accomplishes the 1.5 to 1 height to width ratio that the Department of Marine Fisheries typically recommends. We're proposing 1-inch spacing on the planks for the decking for light penetration. As Commissioner Ring mentioned, we provide more than enough water depth at the proposed float location during mean low water. This project has been approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals at this point, and we're hopeful to obtain an order of conditions from the Commission so that we may then move forward with the Chapter 91 and Army Corps of Engineers final. So with that, I will pass it to you for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for James? So when I take a look at this proposal, I believe that we are looking at a project that is proposed to extend further than the current 505 permit into the river. So the maximum projection in should be, if you look at a 274-foot wide piece of property, it should go out 137 feet max, and the applicant has proposed 184, 185, depending upon how precise you want to get to that. They are also going to go quite a bit of distance into the river, and those are, if you will, exceptions. I did not see in the application justification for doing that was clear and convincing. They did have, the discussion, but it is quite a bit out into the river. And I believe that I saw that they were using pressure-treated posts in the project. And I went looking for it in the drawings to see if they were using green hearts, because memory on the discussion said green hearts. But I couldn't find it on the drawings, except for that one spot right there. So what are you using for the walkway out?
I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, and Mike, you can maybe correct me on this, that the 505 performance standards specify only that green hearts are required at the proposed float location. So I know that that's where we specified them on our plan. Maybe we can have some confirmation on that.
Okay. We believe that's right. I was trying to ask what was going in there.
Yeah, so at the float location, we are proposing the green heart.
Okay. And then on the rest of it, even though it doesn't say, or at least I couldn't find it, it is going to be pressure treated going in for the dock.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if I may, the bylaw itself calls for green heart pilings only. CCA lumber may be used for whalers, stringers, and cross braces for ground contact.
So then we do have comments from the DMF, and they were looking for containment techniques during construction to manage silt, and to use a barge restricted to 2 hours before and after high tide to minimize the map shellfish habitat damage. And the harbor master was looking for all of the soundings to be on the drawings, but I did not see new drawings. Did you get them into us and I missed them?
So if I'm not mistaken, when I spoke to the harbor master out on site, he said that he wasn't going to make us change this plan specifically because it's already been fully designed with this datum of elevation. He was speaking going forward with our next drawing, we wouldn't be using NAVD 88 as a datum. I believe he asked for mean low water for our next one.
He did. If the harbor master is willing to accept that, that's his area, I think we should take that. So that leaves us with the distances that it projects out, and those are in our rules. And then there is, I believe, one question raised by the harbor master on the one property with a residence and building permit and a dock. And this does not have a house on it, but they were sold in the same transaction. And when, in the past, when I've done things like this with docks, town council always looked at them as one transaction. I don't know if we have a better answer than that, because we do have a comment from the building commissioner that they are not the same property. Parcel.
They are essentially adjacent. They're just across the street from the paper road there, Ferry Street.
And they were sold in the same transaction.
I believe so.
They were indeed. I'm the buyer here. My name is Thomas Lohr. I'm on the Zoom. When I acquired the house, I acquired the property on the frontage as well, which is right in front of the house. So it's you know, when you're at the house, it seems like it's exactly the same property. It's just that the paper road crosses within the two lots. But it was indeed acquired on the same date as part of the same transaction. Thank you.
Do we have any objection to that? Does that meet our criteria of one property? Based on my
I think we had a
past,
similar discussion with another dock we permitted on Ferry Street, and also some other previous ones where we said it was more of a ZBA decision as far as the property ownership. What I do have a question about, Joe, in Mike's notes, it says that this would be a shared dock between 46 and 60 Preston Terrace. Were you aware of that?
I was not, and I believe that,
I believe I was mistaken on that. The homeowner for the Zero Ferry Street lot there, specifically the one that this dock is going on, is Stephanie Bauman, and the neighbor is a different person who has the same last name. So the applicants are the homeowners for Zero Ferry Street exclusively.
Yeah, this is a confusion. Indeed, this is Thomas Lohr. I am Stephanie Bauman's husband and the buyer of this property. The owner of 60 Preston Terrace is actually my wife's father. So he's our grandpa, which I believe he might be in the room at this present time.
Well, if you did want to share the dock, that would add to the frontage there. I'd throw that out there as a possibility.
I did not think about this, but
I would say that we're going to keep this as, this is just for the owners of 46 Preston Terrace. That's the way we filed it, that's the intent at this point.
so that brings me to, if it's this one project, what do we have to say that we can go past our 2 extension rules into the river? We usually need some reasoning or justification that works for the environment. And it is quite a bit of additional distance. It is a pretty shallow river, and to get it out there, they have to go that length. How do we resolve that? We do have a rule, and the rule does say you can't go more than this.
If I may, as Commissioner Ring stated, the only reason that the dock extends as far out as it does is protection of the mud flat. We are doing this purely to achieve the other regulation in 505 of the 2.5 feet of water depth at the proposed float. I will also add that this project is virtually identical to 70 Preston Terrace, which was permitted about a year ago by the commission. That's only about 2 or 3 lots down, and that's to the left of the, if you're facing the South River, that's 2 or 3 lots down. There's also the property directly adjacent to the right, which is, again, virtually identical to this project, just extending far enough out to protect the mud flats and achieve that 2.5 feet of depth at the float location.
And they were both approved under the old rules.
Yeah, and just as a comment, I think one of the reasons the rules were changed is seeing how far those docks projected out across the flats.
So I think this brings us to a spot where we have a proposed dock that doesn't meet all of our criteria, and I'm kind of looking for a way to say, what can we do with this? And I don't see anything at this point, because it's in opposition to our stated rules, I think. I don't have any issue with the proposed one piece of property issue. That's the only other thing. If it was, let's say, 2 frontages, maybe that you can band them together and say, yeah, you're only doing one in that whole strip, but that's not an option.
Could I please request a continuance for this project, and we can look into this a little bit further and provide the commission with greater detail as to justification for these requests?
You can always request a continuance, James. Thank you.
Yeah, just before we do that, is there a variance request in the application?
Yes, they should be listed under our standards, peer standards.
I believe I saw they will need to apply for. So I'd like to just make sure, in fairness, that we ask everybody else if they have any questions on this project before we move, or comments. Anybody here in the conference room? Anybody out on Zoom? So with that, I don't see anybody trying to make a comment. With that, I'd like to propose a continuance, but I'm going to go back and ask James, when do you think you want to bring this back?
Your next available hearing, if possible.
Let's see, that's for the
15th?
That's the 15th,
15th, yeah, of February.
February 15th, yes.
So with that, I'd like to propose that we continue this until February 15th. Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing that we have a motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one remaining to vote, so that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. SE 423002, 20 Dog Lane. This is a continued hearing, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Thank you. And I see John.
Okay, John Zimmer, Environmental, on behalf of the applicant. At the last public hearing, the commission requested a few additional pieces of information. One was a detail of the proposed retaining wall at the end or the side of the driveway closest to the 75-foot buffer. Second was the location of the proposed tree plantings. And lastly was to go out and confirm the number of trees that are proposed to be taken down within the 50 and 75, well, 50 to 100 foot buffer. So on the revised site plan, there is a retaining wall detail that shows the drain holes through the base of the wall to allow for drainage to flow through. I did ask them to add on splash plates at the outlets to dissipate the energy of the water as it comes through the openings. So a note was added there. And we do show the location or the general location of the trees to be planted along the limit of the 50-foot buffer. Obviously, those will be sited in the field, towards the end of the project. And then I did go out personally and marked all of the trees that were basically 6-inch DBH or larger. If you go out there, they're flagged with yellow survey flagging. And there were several additional ones that weren't picked up the first time. So I appreciate the comment from I think it was the abutter that made that last time. So there's a listing of the trees and the DBH. Largest one is there's a 30-inch oak that will be taken down. I think it's a little bit further down. Mike, if you, yeah, I think that shows them all. So each of the trees that I marked is designated with the letter. So K, L, N, those remain in place. J. So there are probably 8 to 10 trees total that would likely be taken down to facilitate the construction. The majority of them are located up towards the driveway area. So I think that was about it with respect to the additional information that the commission wanted to see. Happy to open it up for discussion again.
Mike, have you got any comments?
Not particularly.
Other commissioners?
I feel like this is, the more tree detail is very helpful. A lot of the trees are further up than I recalled, up gradient. It's A through F there, those are, so I feel like that detail is helpful knowing where they're located, actually. And also citing, you can see more clearly, I think, on this plan where you propose to add mitigation by adding more plantings.
Right. I also asked them to bold the driveway because I know we had a little hard time seeing what the driveway was last time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the designating the trees also, John. It shows the ones that will be saved. One thing I would ask is that, I forget the date of your letter, but if you would revise it to list the trees in the letter, in addition to the ones that you're taking, the ones that you're saving, so that we
Just
know
specifically
that
call
for
them out.
future reference. This time, I'd like to ask if there's any comments from the public.
Yes, please. Chris Roberts, 20 Dog Lane, or sorry, 10 Dog Lane.
Yes, sir.
I'm just down below this project, and I appreciate the drawing with the trees on it. And, well, thanks, Mike. I just went out and I was out bed hunting for deer antlers, and I was like, I kind of looked around and man, there are a lot more trees than I remember on that map. So I kind of drew in those red dots, and those are just approximations, but I know they're outside the 100-foot buffer. But I know that the board's concern initially, and my concern still, is that with all these trees gone, there's no root system going to be left to hold all this stuff together, and that just living down below that concerns me. That in conjunction with the driveway, paved area, I'm assuming. I don't know what the construction is going to be on the driveway, but that water running off right down towards all of that, and me is of another concern. So I just didn't know. You know, you don't really have any authority over the 100, outside the 100-foot buffer, is my understanding, but, you know, that in combination with all the other trees that are apparently going to be taken down is concerning.
Thank you. I understand your concern, but as you say, that's outside of the 100-foot.
No, but I mean, but your jurisdiction obviously is within 100 foot, and I know that there's been so many meetings since August, I think it's when it started, but I know at one point, one of the subjects of one of the meetings was the fact that with these trees gone, you're creating a very unstable area there, right at the top of that hill, and it's a pretty steep hill. So it's,
Yeah, I'd also add that since that meeting, we've built in some pretty significant additional stabilization, erosion control measures that weren't in the initial application.
I mean, we've had a lot of discussion about this. Everybody recognizes it's a difficult site to build on, and we're prepared to enforce if that slope cannot be, you know, protected and maintained. You know, if you have erosion there, we're gonna.
Absolutely, I would hope you would.
Yeah.
my only other point I wanted to make too is the proposed plantings that you have there. I don't know what the scale is on this, but that almost seems like overkill. I think it's great that you are planting some more trees there, but I'm just wondering how much growth you're going to get out of 10 trees that are planted all that close together too.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if they would grow faster and stronger if there weren't as many of them, or if they were just spaced out differently.
Right. The spacing shown on the plan is representative. So when we go about to do the actual planting in the field, they'll be spaced out appropriately so that they do have sufficient space to grow.
Okay, thank you.
And in addition to that, we'll require 75% survival. So, you know, there's a possibility you may lose a couple there. Anyway, so this is to ensure that there's enough. Yeah. Did I see Mr. Finn's hand up?
Yeah, William Finn, 96 Dog Lane, I'm on a butter. I have a suggestion for the commission, and that is that to ensure the commission has the authority to come back on to enforcement if there's damage to a resource area, even if you're beyond the 100 feet. I forget the section that I've cited in previous. I would like that to be part of the special conditions so that the people know that the commission has retained the authority to come back in if this erosion control and everything else starts to fail, and your resource area is damaged. The second question I have is if everyone is thinking that maybe if the Board of Appeals allows the variance, that the house could move forward closer to Dog Lane, and that might be beneficial. And I'm wondering, John, if I may, Mr. Chairman, through you, if I could ask John, do you have any idea what that benefit might result in terms of preserving trees, or what is the environmental benefit to the resource area if you move the house forward? Because if you move it forward, if I'm not mistaken, it's a larger house.
We've kind of had this hypothetical discussion before that we don't know what's going to happen, but our suggestion was that if there is a variance allowed, that it move everything out of Concom jurisdiction. Correct. Which would be beyond the 100, so that would consequently protect those trees listed here.
And I think we discussed if ZBA does approve it and there's any work proposed still within the commission's jurisdiction, we would come back and amend the order of conditions, which would require a butter notification again, you know, in a similar public hearing process. So you get a chance to review a revised site plan.
If it gets moved?
Yes.
If they grant the variance?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Right, okay.
So you are in fact going back to ZBA?
Well, if the commission decides to vote to issue an order of conditions,
Right.
Yeah.
yes, I believe that's.
What this was all
Mm-hmm.
about. Yeah.
If I could also, this is Chris Roberts again, 10 Dog Lane. The detail that's on the driveway, I'm still trying to get a handle on how that's going to drain. Is it, because I imagine it's going to be excavated so that the garage is underneath the building, is that correct?
Yes.
And so yeah, and I know you mentioned some weep holes, so there's 2 weep holes in the retaining wall that would just free flow to the land behind it or underground. I'm just curious how that works.
Right, so the stormwater would come down the driveway to the base of the retaining wall. There would be weep holes within the retaining wall that would allow the stormwater to go through. There would be splash plates. If you think about the energy dissipators that are at the bottom of your roof drains, that kind of disperse the water so it doesn't channelize. So those would be placed at the outlets as well, so we don't get any channelization down through the buffer zone. So the stormwater would come down, kind of go through the retaining wall, hit those splash plates, and then dissipate over what would be a small lawn area, and then, allow it to infiltrate as it gets back towards the 50-foot buffer.
Okay, thank you.
There's no further comments from either commissioners or the public. I'd like to move on to talking about the special conditions.
Right.
Can you list what you have, Mike?
So I have so far the standard special conditions, insert under the D2 to ensure that erosion control is in place and do not use hay. May introduce invasive plant species to wetlands and setbacks. Shall secure the construction site from intrusion into the wetlands. And then under D0, just a general special condition that the commission has the authority to enforce beyond the 100-foot buffer if construction negatively impacts the resource area. I just penned that.
Okay, you mentioned of hay bales, that makes me think, I think you mentioned hay in your note, John.
Right.
So when you revise your note, edit that?
Yeah, I think, we proposed wired back silt fence,
Right,
and then if we use bales, it'll be straw bales.
okay.
So I would write that specifically into the condition that it's straw bales, not hay.
Okay.
Okay, and then also, in your note, you talked about enhanced inspections, weekly inspections by, I assume it'd be yourself?
Or otherwise qualified professionally.
Okay. So you got that, Mike?
Yeah, that was that would be, I suppose, that would be after construction or during construction?
No, during
During
construction.
construction is under D2.
Weekly inspections by,
Weekly inspections by John Zimmer.
Well, I wouldn't
Well-
put specifically me.
Oh, sorry. By
how did you term it in your letter? A qualified,
Yeah, I'd say a qualified environmental professional or
okay.
along those lines.
and we have the plantings, 3 years, 75% survival?
Okay. Twice a year monitoring.
The other thing that I would recommend on the monitoring is that you get the name and phone number of the monitor before the start of construction. Because that way, in case there's ever an issue, you have someone aside from the applicant to talk to, in case there needs to be any type of action out there.
And should we ask that the conservation markers are installed before the start of construction?
We could, yeah. It's in the D1. And then how many markers is that again?
Could you condition it for after initial clearing? I don't want the no markers to get knocked over if they're.
Okay, but the silt fence will be in place before anything starts, right? Actually, as I look at the plan, John, I see I see 4 markers. I thought there's nothing else down towards the, I guess it'd be the north side of the lot there.
Down towards the,
Can you zoom out a little bit, Mike, on that?
Unfortunately, that's the extent of our
you're
screenshot.
saying
This is the
towards-
north arrow, though.
towards L, M, and N, the trees down that end?
Yes.
We can add markers if you'd like.
Yeah, just, I think one towards the lot line. They just kind of stop there and,
How about two, one at the inflection point and then one down?
yeah.
So I'll get
Great,
those
where
added
I'm-
to the plan.
Where I'm holding my cursor here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so one right by tree N and then one down.
At the lot line. Other commissioners, is there anything else we need here?
Covered it.
Could I ask one more question, Mr. Zimmer?
Go ahead.
Ms. Roberts? The tree number, or tree letter N is Nancy. Does the 50-foot buffer take a sharp turn there? Because there's a 50-foot stake on the house side, if you will, of that tree, but I can't tell from the drawing if it actually diverts behind that tree, because that is an enormous, beautiful tree. I'd hate to see that thing go.
I'm not exactly sure, but I know that tree N is not being proposed to be removed.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I'll document that in my revised letter as well.
You're right, I'm sorry, it's right here, other trees within buffer. All right, thank
Yep.
you.
So J through P are not removed.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'd like indicated in the letter, that those trees remain.
Yep.
Yeah, because it falls under trees to be removed, so it's not
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, it just says other trees.
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't
it's-
say whether they.
Right.
Yeah,
go
no,
or
so
stay.
that's what,
So-
yeah, it's
so
a little
to-
ambiguous, so.
So to clarify
trees
that
not to
they
be
stay.
removed.
They're gonna revise the site plan, so I'll have them amend the note to say, to remain.
Okay.
Okay, to remain is the easiest thing.
If we get those additional conservation markers on that plan as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll have them all, I'll have it back to you by Friday.
Perfect, thank you.
So if there's nothing further, I'd make a motion to close the hearing. Make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions as discussed. And also subject to John's revised letter and the revised plan. Do I get a second?
Second.
Do we want to specify a date for the plan and letter, or?
Yeah, what,
Be the third.
third?
Yeah, that's Friday.
Okay. So, I made the motion, have I got a second?
Second.
Second, Susan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Based on where we started.
We may not be done yet.
May not be done
Yeah.
yet.
Don't
Good night.
speak too soon.
Right, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearings. We are on to certificates of compliance and extensions. The first being SE 422853, which is 430 Holly Road. They are requesting an extension. What is the length of the extension? Is this a,
I believe they didn't specify the length that they wanted.
do we extend for a 3-year
Typically
period,
3
or
years.
what is customary?
Yeah, I think they can go for multiples.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe in the past you've issued 3-year
And
3-year
this
extensions.
is the first one, right?
Yep.
okay. So I suggest, I move that we vote to issue an extension for 3 years from the original order's date?
The order, the date of issuance.
The date of is that correct, Mr. Finn? Do you think that 3 years from the date of the issuance of SE 422853 orders of conditions?
Or the date of expiration, then it would be, because the date of issuance for the last one lasts for 3 years, so we'd want to tack another 3 years onto the end of that.
Onto the original
be-
date of expiration.
The original date of
Right.
expiration. yeah.
Correct. Okay. May I have a second?
Second.
All in
Right.
favor?
Aye.
SE 422852, this is the Union Street Couch Cemetery project. I move that we vote to issue an extension, once again for 3 years from its expiration. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, SE 421714, 552 Forest Street. We have an approved site plan from 2002 that is for a different property. 574 Forest. Can you
Yes.
shed some light on this?
I'm trying to pull up.
That plan depicts a wetland line that impacts this property.
So I missed this in the presentation. I apologize, but the original site plan for this was for the adjacent property. I believe it was 574. They had a wetland line. It was associated with a septic tank. I believe it was a Bob Crawford site plan, and there was nothing but a small sketch showing the structures and the proposed addition off of the main dwelling on 552 Forest Street. One thing that was not noted on those plans were there was a shed. It's like a barn shed type lean-to structure in the front part of the home that is just within the 50-foot buffer zone. It looks like it's been there for decades, more than likely since before 2001. And same thing with the retaining wall there in the property, but there's no record of it. And the proposed site plan that was approved in 2001 had kind of some missing pieces and was pretty vague.
So it seems like we need a site plan, a new site plan?
We do have a site plan. I can try to pull that up right now from the Google Drive, if you just bear with me for a moment.
And what was the work that was being done on this?
It was a proposed addition. It was for an addition off of the main dwelling.
And I assume that this is a new owner and they're
Yeah,
finding out that
they're-
there was never a COC issue.
Exactly. They're trying to close a real estate deal on the
Yeah.
property right now.
So have you got the file on it, the original file on this one, or is this one of those missing ones?
I do have the original file. I do not have it on the Google Drive, unfortunately. But the original file was for the adjacent property, this property's septic tank over here, and it did show where the wetland was in relation to this home. And they had a rough hand-drawn sketch of this addition over here, and then that was essentially it. It was approved in 2001, and then they were missing the structure here, which was a small shed that looks like it's been there for decades, and these two retaining walls with the koi pond as well that also look like they've been there for some time.
Yeah, I mean, this would So it wasn't a new house in 2002, right?
No, it was existing.
So it would come under the 25-foot rule anyway, so
Anyway.
everything here is acceptable,
Okay,
I think.
yeah. Okay,
Let's
nope,
retake.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
320.
okay. I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance for SE 42-1714. May I have a second?
Second.
Vote O'Donnell.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. SE 42-2407, 111 Meadow Street. Site is well vegetated. We have over 75% of plantings survived. But we have invasives and opportunistic species coming in.
That is correct. I have this letter from John Zimmer here. So in the past, they were using a that DEP number there to apply some herbicide to keep the Phragmites and staghorn sumac and other plantings at bay. The native plantings here, this I believe is a bayberry, eastern red cedar, and then you can see a couple kind of scattered along the fence line here. Those have taken. The report does indicate too that 75% of the plantings have survived, and that they intend to keep invasive species management into 2023 growing season.
And the original orders only had monitoring through now,
Yes.
so we really have no control over them continuing going forward.
Yeah, the homeowner today during the site visit, I went by to grab specific pictures of these plantings. She did indicate that that's something they would be interested in moving forward. I indicated as well that anything with the use of herbicides would need a notice of intent application, and then anything with hand trimming or other means of invasive management could be a lesser permit.
So going forward, they'd have to come back
Yes.
anyway. So,
Can we give them hand management in the COC?
sure. I think so, right?
The person filing this permit too is the former homeowner, so I'm not sure if the current homeowner, if that would be applicable to them or not.
I think it goes with the property.
It goes with the property.
Goes with property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put, hand management, allowed, any use of herbicide, or herbicide certainly needs a permit and.
Yeah, per the DEP.
Right,
Yep.
yeah, but good idea, yeah, put it in there.
Ongoing condition, right?
Yep. Because, we're always gonna have this problem when we have, even with successful, you're always gonna have penetration of
Yeah.
invasives.
And during the site visit, each parcel on each side of this parcel had
Has invasives.
extensive Phragmites. So it would be a constant battle.
Well, okay. So I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance with special condition regarding hand management. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 106 Preston Terrace, SE 42-2976. The entire wall was not constructed. The building department has not done any inspections here, and we're not aware of the completion of the work. We have a recommendation from the building commissioner to continue this request until the building department has conducted a final inspection. Anybody want to comment on that, or?
According to the engineer's letter, they indicated that this back section here in the proposed plan just will not be completed. They don't want to move forward with it. So their as-built drawing reflecting the proposed front seawall, retaining wall there is the only work that has and will be conducted on this permit. As far as the building commissioner, if he needs to discuss the site with them, then that would be something that would need to be addressed.
So, I move that we continue this until such time as the appropriate inspection has been done.
Yeah, my concern would be if what we approved was 2 retaining walls, you know, if you don't have one, what's that slope look
Is that
like
gonna
now?
fail? Yeah, or have a? Okay. I move that we vote to continue, yes, until such time as building inspections have occurred.
Okay.
Would it be continue or just table? Well, this is a,
Yeah,
Table.
give me table, I vote to table. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, SC 42 2878, 73 Spring Street. You note, Mike, that there is a gravelled area towards the rear that was not on the proposed site plan?
Yes, as this left site plan on the screen here indicates, this is a gravelled area that was not on the original site plan here, that is in place, and also the location of the silt sock, and therefore on the site essentially the limit of their lawn has changed slightly. There is this area here closest to wetland flag number 9 is slightly within the 50-foot buffer. It's I scaled it out today and it's approximately 43 feet from the wetland flag.
As opposed to 50?
Yep.
Do I see conservation markers there?
Yeah, there were conservation markers there on site.
Does that mean they're gone, or they are still there?
They're still there. Yeah. When I took the site visit pictures about a week ago, they were, so.
Just the way you said it caught me, and it's like,
Oh.
they were there, but they're gone.
Oh.
So is what you're talking about inside or outside of the conservation markers?
It would be, according to where they place the conservation markers, it's right on the extent of their lawn, kind of the extent of the erosion control barrier. So,
So the lawn does not go beyond the conservation marker?
it does not.
I think that's what we were looking for.
Yeah, that was the point. And the gravel,
It's pervious.
pervious surface? Anyone have any comment on that? Okay, I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance for SE 42 2878 at 73 Spring Street. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And SE 42 1074. I move that we vote to table this to allow the applicant time to resolve an issue with pavement and a shed. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. SE 42 1500. Once again, we will table this until the generator stand is resolved. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And SE 42 2773, 1185 Ferry Street. Once again, a table to allow the issues there to be resolved. May I have a second?
May I ask a question first?
Yes, you may.
This one has been going for a while that I
Yes, it has.
remember. At what point do we decide that we're not gonna let it continue and we wanna do something.
That is on my short list of things
Yeah.
to do, these
So
things
I
that
will
are
second your
dragging.
motion.
Pardon me?
So I will then second your motion.
All right, yes, no, I'm not oblivious to this. We're gonna try to clean this
Yeah, I
stuff
wanted to bring
up.
that up as
That's-
well.
That's gonna happen very soon. Okay, I have a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that concludes our business, so I move to close the Marshfield Conservation Commission's meeting of February 1st, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.